covered in the movie yesterday. And then selection of bad contractors. Project manager loses control over the overall project team or the staff priorities. Too many projects, that is very prevalent, and especially in corporate. If you work for Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, or any major Marriott, whatever, sometimes there's just so many damn projects going on that the staff of the support staff of the different program areas, they're overwhelmed by, so it's equivalent of you taking 6 courses at a time. They have to attend all these meetings and do all the follow-up, et cetera. And it leads to people missing meetings, not having good follow-up, et cetera. So too many projects is a curse. Estimating and or scheduling errors, okay? The biggest flaw in estimating is for whatever reason. People have this thing in their head where they optimistically think things can be done in less time than they can be done because reality, allocations for reality just don't seem to make it. Okay, so you have poor communication, unrealistic schedules, you have change management, which is erratic, so it's not well. When someone has an agenda, they change it. Wrong people are at the meeting, but due dates totally change, and now they can't be met. Okay, lack of coordination among related entities, lack of management support, and changes in turnover in key staff members is huge. Okay, so we already covered about scope creep, unrealistic budget, unrealistic schedule, late submittals. Okay, late submittals are a problem because of dependencies. A lot of times certain people can't even start their job until certain things happen. Okay, unresponsiveness to consultants, sub-consultants, and errors and omissions claims. Okay, so anyone moved into a new house in the last 20 years? Yeah, okay. So if you went there before it was built, you might see on the wall, they have this flow chart, work scheduling, because if you're the electrician, okay, you can't put the wiring in before the frame's up. You need to know when the frame's going to be up so you can staff among all your other jobs. You can be here for the days where that frame is up and you have the room. Then you put your wiring in, okay? And then after the drywall is up, you have to come back and put the rest of the electrical equipment into the boxes, etc. But you have to know what all those times are. So if the sheetrock guys are late, you're showing up and you're paying your guys, and you can't do your work. Okay. Again, that's a very and just like you go there and the frame's not up, okay, or worse, the sheetrock's already up, and you show up to do the wiring, it is a huge workaround. It's a very inefficient workaround if the sheetrock's already up and you have to do the wiring. They can be fishing wires, etc. That's just an example of how important the interdependencies in the scheduling is for certain people to come in. Actually, the painters and etc. Also, you don't want the rug in. You don't want the rug installed before the drywall is painted. Yeah? Because, you can do it. You got to put all kinds of things and cover it, but it's more expensive and it's high risk. All right, let's see. Did it move? Okay, so anyone recognize these processes? The initiation, planning, implementation, event itself, and closure. What are those from chapter 1? Yuri remembers. Yuri remembers. Those are the phases of, Dembach phases of event management. Very good. Excellent. They'll be on definitely be on the phone. Okay, so understanding the phases is where the different type of planning goes into play. Okay, so you're scheduling for the the planning, initial budgeting, and what your marketing plan is going to be, and your all your getting your funds approved and your communication plan done is one big piece of it. And then on the event itself, you have to manage and orchestrate all the live change management with regard to schedules that may change, speakers, glitches with the speakers, substitutions of speeches, etc. And then the closure phase where you take all your lessons learned and feedback to make sure that your next event plan is continuously improved. Okay, so we're going to talk about timelines, production schedules, and schedule controls. Okay, and let's see, the overall timeline encompasses the entire scope of the project. And I think one of the first lessons learned for this chapter is use the budget for what? Use the timeline in the budget to basically control the overall event plan. Those are your biggest levers. It's like your shift and your brake. All right, so create a master schedule and develop timelines/timelines. Okay, and I think we already answered this question: why it's important to be proactive about scheduling, monitoring, control. So you know, if the framers are running late, you have to proactively get with the other contractors to make sure you push them back so that they're not going to be showing up and wasting time and assessing you money for having them there before the work, before they were ready to work. Okay, right out of the text, figure 7.1. Okay, back to the statement of work and work breakdown. All that stuff is charted out as to specific activity, how long it takes, how much staffing it takes, what's the critical schedule sequencing, because you can't start before this and you have to finish before that. And then how do you control the schedule when life happens? Okay. And then 3 primary reasons why it's so important to be proactive about that is, give me one. It's a gift. I'm trying to give these books away. I'm putting the words you have to say right up there. 1, 2, 3. See the 1, 2, 3 up there? Someone?
Late attention to problems leading to expensive workaround tactics.
Okay, right. So that would be the example of the sheetrock piano and having to do the wiring after the sheetrock's up. Can someone give me another one?
Late detection of problems precluding solutions available earlier.
Right, so if you have a problem, if you find out within so much time, you can do a realistic, moderate cost solution. But after too much time, it's too late. Okay? That's such a great example of that is the brakes on your car. Okay, if you feel the initial grind of the brakes on the car, you get your pads fixed. Okay, you don't need new rotors and other things that cost a fortune. Okay, however, if the problem just goes and goes, you have an employee driving the car, the noise isn't saying anything, and the noise is there, but they don't say anything, all of a sudden you're in for some expensive maintenance. Late surprises, limiting the time to develop adequate solutions. That sounds a whole lot like the one earlier to me. Okay, the earlier the problem is diagnosed, we covered that. Okay, and again, change management, when someone changes one spoke of the wheel, everyone else in the food chain that is interdependent with that activity needs to be notified. Okay, so that's like, again, a great example of what happens when the framers are going to be late or the sheetrock guys are going to be late. Okay, so we talked about this statement of work. It's the clearly defined scope, clearly defined deliverables, and this is for 2 main reasons. One of them is you want to make sure that you cost it out, with the right amount of resources and time. And then the other one is those contracts are all you have to enforce the subcontracts you have in place. If it's not clearly in there, you're not gonna. They'll take a chance of going to court because they say, and it wasn't clear to me. I didn't believe that was correct. That was correct. Okay, and we already talked about the hierarchy of the work breakdown structure, which facilitates the integration and the tracking of all the different work areas, activities. Okay, and then the activity architecture is nothing more than the structure of the work. Again, sequence and synchronization of tasks is critical, as is critical path which is what type of an activity is that? Forward or backward? Okay, critical back is, this is where the end game, how do we back into that as far as what has to happen in what order, with what type of effort and resources, okay? And dependencies are key, okay? So when you're doing a plan and you're counting on, all of a sudden you find out that the pencils that you're used to getting, they can only, they're in back order, so your vendor can only give you so many at a time. So you are interdependent on, things in the food chain such as that, okay? And then priorities goes without saying. Okay. Backward planning tool, we have that. Milestones and deadlines, a lot of times you back into those. Okay, so based on the milestones and deadlines, okay, like it takes so much resource to accomplish something without a time constraint. But then sometimes, if you want to build a house in 3 weeks, you gotta have 3 or 4 times the people doing it to get it done in 3 weeks than if you could do it over time. And because they're gonna be less efficient. They're gonna be less efficient, but that's what you gotta do to close the delivery period.
It's funny, that kind of reminds me with the Apple and Samsung situation. I guess Samsung, they make all of Apple's parts, and Apple, they just put it together. Well, as everyone knows, Apple sued Samsung, and because of that, they put all of Apple's parts on back order. So, the iPhone 5S was supposed to come out in June, and 6 was supposed to come out in October, so now it was pushed back after that whole situation.
Yeah,
So it's like they didn't think about their risk when they decided to sue the company that makes their parts.
And their contract allowed them to do it either with penalties or without penalties. Okay, you remember that liquidated damages? In some cases, if you have that and you're going to be back ordering on someone, you're going to affect the corporate performance. So there can be liquidated damages if it's negotiated in ahead of time. Okay. This is the planning fallacy I alluded to earlier. It is human nature to believe that things can be accomplished in less than the actual required time, okay? Because we optimistically forget all the routine, typical bumps in the road and obstacles and delays that happen in life, okay? From traffic to employee turnover to interdependent contractor dependencies. Okay, so financial management. Okay, so the first thing is pro forma, right? So some people took finance. Okay? If you took finance and you go to a job interview and you tell the person you're interviewing with that you took finance and they ask you what you know about pro forma and you don't know, it's not going to be good. Okay? They will think that you attended the finance course, but not took it. Okay? So you should understand what a pro forma is, which is basically the framework for all of the financial inputs, outputs, and the assumptions for profitability, cash flow, cash management, etc. That is your pro forma. And so that will tell to any investor or whatever what you're planning to sell, what you're planning to spend to make it, what your other overhead and related costs are, and what your profit margin is going to be, your gross and net profit projections. Okay, there, it's a forecast. Okay, and money is needed for anything to happen, except for love, I guess. Love is cheap. Okay, yesterday we talked about costing and pricing strategies. Okay, so there's a couple of things. The text says that your cost of producing an event is going to drive your attendee pricing. Okay, it's going to influence it because you can't price below it. But what other things will impact that?
The economy?
Economy could. But the first primary thing is there's a thing they call what's the maximum someone's willing to pay? There's a I'm not willing to pay more than this for a car, for a house, so you take a look at your target market, and as you profile your target market, there is what's the maximum, okay, that they're gonna spend. I think it's in this, I know it's in the text, I think it's in the slides. The other thing is your competition. If there are 3 events, conventions, meetings, conferences that are similar to yours, one of them's here, one of them's there, et cetera, and one of them's extremely expensive, you may go for another one. So the other things are the maximum, your cost, the maximum tolerance, spend tolerance for your target market, and third is your competitive environment will also influence that. Okay, standard accounting practices are usually, that's compliance with FASB. Anyone have this in finance? They have to operate legally, okay? Legally means you have to be compliant with prudent bookkeeping and the laws, FASB and other accounting laws. Bookkeeping procedures, budget approval procedures, so that if you have an idea you're gonna do an event, well, you better be compliant with when you needed to submit for the money by, what you needed to have for supporting documents to get your approvals done, to get contracts signed. Certain companies have clear restrictions and approval process that you have to go through. I know the expenditure approval process, again, these are all either legal or corporate compliance. Okay, so one of the risks involved with costing and pricing is typical monies that, whoops, I didn't think of that, okay? So they have a list of that because they have surveyed all of the, professionals in the field to say, hey, what are the most typical hidden or oops costs, okay? So sometimes things get done, so there's certain extra fees that are in a subcontractors or some vendors' fine print, like, oh, by the way, there's a 20% tipping fee that goes on that, okay? Madison Square Garden, it's a 20% built-in tip, or we need so many comps per 100 based on the association or organization. Delivery charges, oh, that wasn't built into the cost, okay? Parking tolls, taxes, cleaning fees. Once I got killed on an event that I held in Boston because I was as green as a cucumber doing this, and Delta Airlines had just merged with Western Airlines. So, and we were partners with the official airline of the Boston Ballet, and they had this beautiful new facility. So I think, I cut the deal with the Boston Ballet, so I'm going to get them to do this, etc. Anyway, so we brought, probably a few hundred of our closest friends, customers, etc., to this beautiful white glove event at the Boston Ballet location. And this wasn't the theater they perform in, it was their facility where they administer their talent and practice and do everything else. It was a beautiful facility. So, alcohol was served, okay? And it's a brand new, pristine building, and the artistic director was, what's the word?
Peeved?
He was really in his own world as far as a scratch. He was a unique individual. Anyway, I got a bill after the fact to fix every scratch and blemish in that entire facility. Why? Because I didn't put a limit. I didn't have it in the contract. Okay, and I had no defense because I think we paid for every glitch that any other mover put into the, it cost me an extra 20 grand after the fact. It was a problem because everything was exquisite, okay? And so when you're dealing with a unique area, so let's say you have the Statue of Liberty and you scrape it, it takes $10 million to fix that scrape because of the historic, because they have to do it with the original bronze or whatever. So anyway, that's an example of what could happen with repair costs such as that. If you don't have, do you have a cap on it? If you can't get a cap on it, you want insurance. You want you want a rider on your insurance. Okay, costing and pricing. So we talked about the break-even analysis. So there's a lot of associations that are not-for-profit, okay? So they're not looking to make a lot of money. They're looking to add value for their association. So they're looking to make sure that their costs are, so they have a break-even as to how much content and services can they put into the experience, okay, and be covered by the revenue flows from the exhibitor contributions and the attendee contributions, etc. And that would be an example of a break-even analysis. And then others, especially those that are for profit, would do a bottom-up analysis where they just go up from bottoms up, what's it going to cost me, what kind of a margin do I need to keep my investors and make the ROI worthy. So let's say they added 30% cost markup, etc. And then they'll say, how much can I charge for each exhibit or attendee? Okay, and cash flow and handling. Okay, cash flow, it's not on an airplane today, can you pay in cash? Most of the time you can't. Why? That would be definitely a cash handling problem for the airlines. Okay? And in days when that was, what the flight attendants used to do is they would go to the first class cabin where you do not charge for drinks, and they would take several bottles of liquor from those kits and put them into the back of the plane kit. Okay? So that cash from sales in the back of the plane was in their pocket. Okay? So that's how loosey-goosey it was. Okay? And it's also from headsets and other things. So credit cards are key. It took a while before credit cards to be as state-of-the-art or the norm to get to it. They were built from millions of dollars.
Don't they not take cash anymore?
That was my point.
Yeah, okay.
And this, one of the big reasons is to collect, track, protect, and stop the theft. There's too much money, yes.
I mean, you're just talking about on the plane. Like you can't even buy your ticket in cash?
No, you can buy your ticket in cash.
Oh, okay.
Because that is that's a different system.
Okay, no, that's
Okay, no,
what
but
I was
on
trying
the
to clarify,
airplane,
'cause I was
no,
confused
flight
for a
attendants,
second.
flight attendants cannot
Okay,
take
all right.
cash, okay?
Do they like take your credit card on board
Yeah.
and?
Yeah, they swipe
They
it.
have they have a system.
Yeah, in the old days, on the Eastern Shuttle between Boston, they used to do that on the airplane. You had to pay for your ticket on the plane because they don't want to take that. So that'd be good. Yes, Sue, sorry.
The problem with that is though, like I fly Southwest most of the time, and half the time their like machines don't even work because it's just one of those little things on top of a pad, and they just swipe your.
Yeah, but I think they can do a backup. I think they can do a manual backup. Have you ever seen the old thing where you take a pencil?
Slide the card.
Hey, not even that. You take a pencil, you just rub on a form. You can rub the card down, and you can make an imprint for that amount of money.
Yeah.
They can do that as a
But when I've
backup.
been on it and it hasn't worked, they just give them the drink. Yeah, because they can't like get them to work half the time.
Well, if that's the case, that's
That's just great customer service.
Yeah.
Free drinks, yeah, nothing wrong with free drinks. Yes,
I
ma'am.
just flew Delta for the first time last month in the longest time, and I didn't even pay for my ticket, but for me to get my ticket, you have to swipe your credit card now. You have to go up to the little machine and to get your ticket to swipe your card. That's how you
At
do it.
Walgreens, you have to swipe your own card to get out the damn store.
Really?
Walgreens, yeah, you can't, unless you give them cash.
Oh.
I can't give them my credit card, they'll say, you think I am? You're like, you think I'm gonna swipe your card? Like,
Yeah.
you have to swipe
That's
your own
all
card.
stores though now,
Hmm?
the majority
I
of
don't
them.
like
Yeah, it's
other
most
people
stores. Disney's got
touching
that
my
too.
card.
I don't want
In
someone.
merchandise,
Yeah.
food and beverage.
Well, the good news is, you're the only
Unless
one
you
that's
get your
touching your
I mean,
card.
like, just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's paid for already.
Okay, so, because in the old days,
To get the printout, you have to
and
swipe.
even still today, the big